You got a chip in your windshield? You got a crack in your windshield?
Claim it!
Should you use your glass coverage? I'm Justin.
And I am Aaron.
And this is Insurance Hacks, where we use our considerable insurance knowledge to help you hack your way through the jungle, which is the modern insurance consumer jungle. Okay, so glass coverage, great coverage. You know, windshields get more and more expensive.
So glass coverage typically shows up under your comprehensive. Okay, that is a glass claim is under comprehensive.
Right.
Several years back, carriers started to add a little caveat to the comprehensive. You always had a deductible, but carriers added a $50 for glass. So you can carry a $500 in case your car is stolen or in case it gets hail damage, a tree drops on it.
$50 or $0.
But only $50, maybe $0, yeah, if you get a chip in your windshield. And some carriers, they'll cover chips and they'll even cover cracks. Some only draw the line at chips. So there's a lot of different options out there for glass coverage, and windshields have gotten expensive.
They have. The last windshield I replaced was a little over $2,500, so they're pretty pricey.
Yeah, they got the sensors in them, so you got
calibration.
Yeah, so there is a lot that goes into windshield replacement. So the big question is, should I have glass coverage? Should I use glass coverage? So let's start with, should I have it?
Should I have it?
There's your question.
You know, it's up to you, really. It's a choice. Okay, should you have it? If you have a very expensive windshield and you use it as it should be for disasters, then maybe. If you're not a person who picks up chips or really cares about chips but wants to be covered if it cracks all the way.
You know, I think probably this disclaimer is important for the beginning of this video.
Yeah.
The best thing for you to do is to not have glass claims. I have been driving.
Period.
Yeah, I mean,
coverage or not, right?
Coverage or not, don't have glass claims, and they are preventable. I see this all the time when I'm driving. People drive very close to the car in front of them, and that is one of the most surefire ways to make sure you get a lot of glass chips.
My disclaimer is that insurance is for disasters, okay? And is it a disaster for you? That's something you have to determine. So pros and cons of glass coverage. Pros, get a lower deductible. They have an agreement with Safelite. They'll bring it out, right?
Convenient.
Convenient. If windshields are expensive, so yeah.
I mean, how many cars have you seen driving around with a cracked windshield? And those, a lot of times, they start as just a chip, and then they grow into the crack. And so, if you've ever driven one, that is not the best feeling of driving your car, knowing you have a cracked windshield. You don't feel quite as great about your situation when you're driving a cracked windshield. So you're going to want to replace it.
Yeah.
And you could do it for $0 or $50 or whatever your coverage is.
Right. Or even $500 if you have the red deductible.
Yeah.
Here's why I argue why you shouldn't, though. You can carry the coverage if that's going to be a financial burden for you, truthfully. Okay? Understand that burden is going to follow you around for many years. So let me tell you a couple stories about clients that we've dealt with who had glass coverage and didn't think about frequency of use.
Yeah, I want to touch on that, a financial burden, and I want to encourage you all to really think about it, because some windshields cost a lot and some do not. I want to say you just had one that you replaced. It was only about $600 or something.
Yeah.
No, was it you? I talk to people with broken windshields all the time, sorry. But either way, some are relatively inexpensive, $600.
Yeah.
Some of them are $2,500. Some people I know are driving cars like BMWs and really nice luxury cars that have a $2,500, $4,000 windshield. That's a nice car.
Yeah.
And if you can afford that, is that a disaster for you or not? Is it something you just don't want to pay for or not? Because I also know there are people, I want to say your Subaru has a very fancy windshield as well.
That was the expensive one.
There's an expensive windshield. Right. A Subaru driver is not always going to be someone who can just roll out of bed and throw down $2,400. So you might need that glass coverage for that. So if you're going to make the claim no matter what, better that you have $0 than $500, right?
Truthfully. But here's the caveat. I was going to tell you a story before I was so rudely interrupted, but
let's
talk about stories here. So we had a client recently coming over to us, coming with a Ferrari. Okay, he's trying to get insurance on his Ferrari. He every day drives a Honda or something normal, quite a spread there, right? But he's driving it every day and he's picking up chips. A lot. He lives in Arizona. So we're trying to place his new car, his Ferrari car, with one of our carriers, and they're not interested.
He makes a lot of claims.
A lot of claims. Now,
and probably follows too closely.
Probably that's part of the stat, right? So, but most of his claims on his Honda were chip repairs. You can do a chip repair at home for about $50. Is it going to be as good as a Safelite? I don't know. It depends on how good you get at it. But he could have made that choice. Now he's paying a lot more for insurance on his Ferrari because of his statistics. Another client who came to us and said, man, I gotta do something. I drive this BMW and it is astronomically expensive for me to insure. Another guy who was getting chips literally once a month and having them pay for repair because he had a $0 deductible. His claim sheet looked like he drove through a mall, for goodness sake. So many claims on the thing. And so we were actually unable to find him business. It's one of those things that can drive retention. It's one of those things that will keep you from being able to move. And the insurance companies want you to be there. If you're going to make a bunch of little claims like that,
eventually it's going to happen. Because some of you may disagree with me. You're watching this going, I don't follow closely and I get chips on my windshield. I could say that I actually don't follow closely at all, and I can't remember the last chip on my windshield that I've gotten. Now, maybe I'm the exception to the rule. Who knows? I know you've gotten some chips, but I also know sometimes you drive more aggressively than others.
I don't follow closely. I drive aggressively.
Exactly. Ultimately, you've not had any kind of rear-end collisions in decades upon decades, and so I know that you don't have a habit of following closely. You're unlikely to have a lot of chips. I don't know you to be someone who gets a lot of chips. That for sure I can say.
I drive a lot of miles over the United States.
Lot.
Around Dallas, my wife follows very closely, and that's why I had to replace that windshield. So statistics. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. So should you have glass coverage?
Well, the point I was trying to make there is if you follow that closely, that you're getting windshield chips, it's only a matter of time before someone stops short in front of you and you run into the back of them and an insurance carrier has to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's why we've seen people non-renewed from their carrier strictly for a bunch of glass claims. We've certainly seen rates go a lot higher for someone making a bunch of glass claims. And while we're talking about chips, I want to touch on that, and not Potato or Eric Estrada, but I want to talk about those windshield chips, because when you go to the car wash, a common thing that happens is there's a guy at the car wash who says, hey, you got a chip, let me fix it before it turns into a crack.
It won't cost you nothing.
It won't cost you anything. Your insurance company will pay for the whole thing. And that's right, they may do just that. But insurance companies are not charities. If they're gonna pay for it, you're gonna pay for it. You're just financing that. $50 out of pocket versus 5 years worth of higher insurance rates.
Right, or an ability, and then again, if you have too many of those, you're locked in and you're subject to those rates, and there's no other option because no company wants to touch you. So should you carry the coverage? I don't have the answer to that. That's up to you to decide. Should you make the claim? Final word, insurance is for disasters. It's up to you to decide what a disaster looks like, and having a chip on your windshield once a month you can't have a monthly disaster, we'll say it that way, right? So
if you can, you won't have insurance very long. You probably won't have a car very long. So.
Give it up, move to the country and live with a wagon. So thanks for watching. If you have any specific questions about glass coverage or any kind of coverage or any kind of insurance question, please leave it in the comments down below. We'd be happy to make you your own video.
Yep.
Thanks for watching.
Subscribe. Come back and see us next time.